Chewing on a stalk of sweetgrass, I lounged in the crook of a tree high above the ground, watching the four-legged creatures below sniff around. They got a whiff of me, but couldn't figure out where I was. Maybe because they didn't have eyes, just round skulls with large oval ears, nostrils the size of my fist, and a lipless mouth full of crooked teeth. Hunched back and hairy, they stalked among the vegetation on silent, bony paws. Every once in a while, one would stop and sit up on its haunches with its nose in the air. I crossed my arms over my chest. My hunch that we had way bigger problems on this planet than those ugly Wu-Tark flecks was right. In fact, I was starting to think the Wu-Tarks were a diversion. I couldn't understand why they were so adamant about their borders. Why did it matter if we shared the plentiful game and resources of Corin? But now, as I watched the handlers of the nose-hounds approach, it all began to make sense. The Wu-Tarks were merely an obstacle meant to stop us from searching this planet further. Because here, far past the Wu-Tark border that I promised never to cross, was an enemy who looked ready for war. I'd never seen them before, and I had no idea what they called themselves. One stopped at the base of my tree, and I craned my neck to get a better look. Standing as tall as me on two stocky legs, he fiddled with the collar on his nose-hound with two lower arms, while his upper arms were rounded with muscles at the shoulder and ended in wide, bony plates tipped with talons. He wore a type of chain armor over a thick, leathery skin, a deep red color. His skull was shaped like an upside-down triangle, with two wide points tapering into horns wider than his broad shoulders. His entire face was flat as a board, except for bulging oval eyes. Coiled at their waists were long, translucent whips that glowed a putrid green. I wasn't winning any beauty contests, but these flat-nosed flecks were hideous. Their language sounded like antella meat roasting on a fire, sizzling and hissing as they called to each other. I'd lied to Kutzal, my Drexel, when I told him there was a border breach. There was no such thing. But a buzz at the back of my neck wouldn't let up, and I couldn't sit in camp another day. I didn't always listen to my intuition, but it was rarely wrong. My search led me here, and while I was in the mood to make something bleed and shed a little of my own blood, I had to stay alive long enough to report to Kutzal. We'd have to find their camp and get a sense of how large this settlement was. Were we talking a few fringe warriors, a familial camp, or an entire flecking army? Corin really went to flex since we left, I murmured to myself. The nose-hound below reacted to my voice, its head lifting into the air while its snout bobbed to scent the breeze. I sneered at it and stayed still, my least favorite position. I liked to be doing,